I'll accept the hospital's offer. I leave for Italvia in 2 weeks. Vanessa Jan stood by the window, pregnancy report in hand. On the other end of the call, Rob Lambert, the hospital director, sounded thrown. Wait, what? After all this time? I've been trying to get you on board for years. She let out a humorless laugh. Guess it finally felt like time for a change. Anyway, I've got a lot to wrap up before I go. We'll catch up later. She hung up. The ache in her heart lingered as she glanced back down at the report. Vanessa was an excellent OB/GYN, respected, award-winning, top of her field. She could have gone anywhere, climbed as high as she wanted. But instead, she stayed put, kept her schedule light, made room for her boyfriend, Scott Fable. 3 years ago, Rob pitched her this same transfer, an overseas assignment, big promotion, the whole deal. And she turned it down without a second thought. Long distance with Scott? No way. Until today. Scott's secretary hadn't just come in for a pregnancy test, it was a declaration. A power play. Scott used to treat Vanessa like she was his whole world. People would go on and on about how deeply he loved her, how he'd move mountains just to make her happy. Their relationship had that glossy fairy tale sheen, especially in the business world. She was the one who'd stood by him when he was barely scraping by. She was the loyal, steady partner behind his rise to CEO. They used to say a man settles down with the first woman who truly loves him. Vanessa thought she was that woman for Scott. Vanessa used to think her love story with Scott was forever. She'd spent most of her life standing on her own, never leaning on anyone, until he showed up. With Scott, everything changed. His love felt steady, solid. For the first time, she let herself believe it was safe to hand someone her whole heart. Until now. Lately, he'd been busy way too often. Their time together kept shrinking. Vanessa brushed it off, figuring he was drowning in work. She even felt bad for him, so she'd stay up after long shifts to make dinner, waiting for him to walk through the door. But today, the truth smacked her in the face. Scott wasn't busy with work. He was busy with Cindy Son. Cindy casually spilled everything. They'd been hooking up for a year. It started when Cindy was just an intern. No wonder she scored a full-time spot before her trial period ended, and climbed the ladder straight to Scott's secretary. Scott had called Cindy highly capable. Yeah, right. Turns out, he was talking about her skills in bed. Vanessa's fingers tightened around Cindy's pregnancy report. She folded it neatly and slipped it into her pocket. For 7 years, she'd been building a future with Scott, even thinking of asking if they should get married this year. Now, no need to ask. When Vanessa stepped out of the hospital, there he was, Scott, leaning casually against his black luxury car. The car was impossible to miss. Her colleague nudged her, eyes wide with envy. Ugh, your CEO boyfriend's here again. I'm so jealous. After all this time, and he's still crazy about you. But wait, aren't you leaving for Italvia in 2 weeks? Doesn't he care you'll be gone for, 3 years? As long as I don't mind, Vanessa said flatly, already walking toward Scott. Scott looked like a freaking ad for success, tall, over 6 feet, with a jawline sharp enough to cut glass. And that suit. Perfectly tailored. No wonder women flocked to him. Vanessa didn't blame Cindy. If anyone deserved the blame, it was the guy who couldn't keep it in his pants. When she got closer, Scott pulled out a bouquet of blue roses from the car, flashing his signature grin. Tough day at work, babe? She stared at the flowers. Since last year, he'd been showing up with bouquets, like clockwork. Back then, she used to smile and take them, thinking it was sweet. Now it was obvious, Cindy must have been into flowers, and Scott just lumped Vanessa in with the same routine. This time, she didn't take the bouquet. That's for younger women. I'm past that. In a twisted way, Vanessa felt thankful to Cindy. Without her, Vanessa would have stayed blissfully clueless. Because one thing was certain, Scott would have never walked away on his own. But love poisoned by lies? She wasn't sticking around for that. Back in the car, Scott must have picked up on her mood. He reached over and grabbed her hand. What's wrong? Another tough patient? Vanessa had always been empathetic, often feeling deeply sorry for her patients. Yeah. She paused, then looked at him. Saw a pregnant woman today. She's someone's mistress. Crazy, right? Makes me wonder, why do people cheat? Is trash from outside really that tempting? Scott's eyes flashed with panic, but he covered it fast, tugging her into his arms. Babe, you're too sensitive. You always take on other people's problems. But, look, people are people. They have impulses. Sometimes they just want something different. It's human nature. Vanessa met his gaze, her emotions tangled. At noon, she'd been wrecked, 7 years of loyalty, down the drain. Anyone would have crumbled. But after hours of letting the betrayal simmer, something inside her shifted. Now, hearing Scott's smug little life lesson about impulses, she wasn't hurt anymore. She was done. So, you thinking about trying something new? His hand twitched on her shoulder. Just for a second. Then came the practiced answer. You're all I need, he said softly. What we have can't be replaced. I don't need anything else. Right. Sure. Vanessa gave a bitter smile to herself. If she hadn't met Cindy today, maybe she'd still buy that lie. Then his phone rang. Scott glanced at the screen, his expression tightening before smoothing out. With a quick look at her, he answered and angled himself toward the door, putting space between them. Subtle. But not subtle enough. His Bluetooth earpiece beside her was still on. Vanessa heard everything. Cindy's voice rang through the earpiece. I've been feeling so sick today, Cindy said. Morning sickness is brutal. Come have dinner with me. I even bought that little uniform you like. Vanessa's nails dug into her palms as she held it together. Barely. Scott wrapped up the call fast, turning back to her with that apologetic grin. Sorry, babe. Something urgent came up at work. I gotta go. Let me call you a car, okay? Vanessa's head buzzed. She couldn't even process how casually he was lying to her face. Urgent at work? Right. Feigning concern, she said, I'll come with you. I'm not busy. His face tightened instantly. You've had a long day, he said. I'll be tied up for hours. You'll just get tired waiting around. Be good, okay? I'll come home as soon as I can. There it was, his thoughtful act. But Vanessa already knew everything. She didn't push it. She was too drained, emotionally wiped. She told the driver to pull over, got out of the car, and stood by the roadside, watching Scott's luxury car disappear into the night. Her heart felt like ice. She wandered under autumn night, her mind dragging her back to the early days. Scott quit his stable job to chase a startup dream, full of big promises and bigger risks. She'd supported him through it all, quietly, patiently. She'd used her own paycheck to keep them afloat. She could still feel the sting of those brutal winter mornings, biking to work through the freezing cold, shivering just to save cab fare. All so Scott could eat a decent meal. And back then? He used to tell her. Vanessa, trust me. I'll make it big. I'll buy us a house. We'll have everything. And I'll never let you down. Not in this life. Never. Vanessa let out a bitter smile as she walked. Scott had kept his promise. He gave her the big house, the fancy life. But somewhere along the way, he forgot the part about never letting her down. When Vanessa got home, she took a hot shower to shake off the cold, then started packing. She folded her clothes into a suitcase and booked an international courier to pick it up. A housemaid noticed and asked, "Ma'am, going on a business trip?" No. Vanessa wasn't about to share her plans with anyone tied to Scott. She offered a quick excuse. Just sending old clothes to charity. You're always so kind. Oh, I made you some rice pudding, Mr. Fable called earlier. He asked me to make it. Said it's your favorite. Of course, he did. Vanessa let out a quiet, bitter laugh. Scott. The master juggler. Balancing her and Cindy like some twisted circus act. Even while doting on his pregnant mistress, he still found time to play the perfect boyfriend card. No wonder everyone thought he was such a catch. All those years of her support and sacrifices, reduced to nothing more than background noise in his carefully curated image. She finally saw him for what he was, a good actor. Her gaze landed on the bowl of rice pudding. Her stomach twisted. The nausea came fast, and she couldn't tell if it was from the thought of Scott's smug face or the realization that she'd been breaking her back for a man who never deserved her. Either way, it hit hard. Vanessa barely made it to the bathroom before she threw up. Gripping the sink, she blinked through tears at her reflection. Then a thought sliced through her daze. She opened the cabinet, pulled out a pregnancy test, and took it. Her hands shook as she set the stick on the counter. Her period had been late for a few days, but she'd assumed it was due to stress from work. Now, as the minutes ticked by, her heart pounded. Then, finally, the result appeared. 2 lines. Vanessa's hands trembled as she held the test. No joy. No excitement. Just a crushing weight, heavy as concrete, settling on her heart. If she'd found out even yesterday, she would have been thrilled. She would have run to Scott with baby plans and wedding talk. But now, Scott was at Cindy's. How could she feel happy? Vanessa dragged herself out of the bathroom and sat on the edge of her bed, staring at nothing. Hours slipped by as she sat there, her mind spinning. A baby. She loved kids, always had. She used to dream about having a family with Scott. Wondering whose smile their kids would have, imagining bedtime stories, family vacations. But in none of those dreams did it end like this. Her phone rang, cutting through the silence. Scott. Hey, he said. I've got to leave for a last-minute business trip. I'll be gone about a week. Make sure you eat on time, okay? And be careful commuting to work. Vanessa caught a faint voice in the background. Confirming 2 tickets to Bali. Thank you for booking with us. Got it, she replied, her voice steady. You take care too. That calm, gentle tone always put him at ease. Scott bought it. The moment the call ended, Vanessa let out a soft chuckle. A few hours ago, she'd been torn about what to do. Now, she knew exactly what had to happen. She picked up her phone and requested leave from work. Then she scheduled a doctor's appointment. The baby had to go. That night, she didn't sleep. By morning, Vanessa was at the hospital. After her checkup, the doctor led her to the procedure room. She lay down on the operating table, her body stiff against the metal. The cold air bit at her skin. But the real cold wasn't from the room, it was inside her. Deep in her heart, spreading like frost, numbing everything. And just like that, every tie to Scott snapped. From now on, they'd go their separate ways. When Vanessa woke up, the IV drip was in place. Her hand instinctively drifted to her stomach, pressing lightly. Flat. Empty. Was it really over? Her pale lips curved into the faintest smile. When Vanessa got home from the hospital, exhaustion hit her like a freight train. She told one of the maids to prepare a gift box. The maid smiled. For Mr. Fable? Yeah. Our 8th anniversary's coming up. Perfect timing. Her flight to Italvia was booked for the same day. A clean break. Once the maid left, Vanessa sat at the table and started filling the box. Her pregnancy test result went in first. Next, the termination papers. And finally, Cindy's pregnancy report. She pictured him opening the box, watching the realization crash over him. Too bad she wouldn't be around to see the look on his face. Later that night, Scott called at his usual time. His voice dripped with fake warmth. God, what a joke. Then Vanessa heard it, Cindy's light, teasing voice in the background. She asked Scott what they should eat for dinner. Silence stretched between them. Vanessa didn't say a word. Scott cleared his throat. I had to rush out for a business meeting. Cindy. She's good at her job, so I brought her along. Vanessa kept her voice even. Oh, I know. She's capable. Otherwise, you wouldn't value her so much. I've got a video conference, I'll call you later, Scott blurted out, his voice tight with nerves. He hung up before she could say anything else. Moments later, her phone buzzed with a DM. From Cindy. Vanessa had only accepted her friend request earlier that day. The pic loaded fast. Scott, dripping wet, towel hanging way too low. The message. Pure venom. See that? Your man? Yeah, he just got done with me. Said he's tired of doing it with a stuck-up ice queen. Likes me soft. Real soft. Vanessa froze, nausea rolling in waves. A year. Maybe longer. That's how long Scott had been crawling into Cindy's bed. How many times had he swung by to pick Vanessa up from work, freshly showered after screwing Cindy? Swallowing her disgust, Vanessa calmly replied to Cindy's message. Take it easy. Stress isn't good for that baby you're banking on. Send. Then, silence. Just her, sitting on her bed. She clicked on Cindy's profile and began scrolling. And there it was, the whole affair laid out in selfies and captions. My hubby bought me this ring, love it so much. The photo. A flashy diamond ring. Scott's comment underneath. Babe, as long as you're happy. Vanessa kept going. I was feeling down, so my hubby took me shopping. Let's see if he dares to upset me again next time. Scott's response? Honey, I'm sorry. Won't happen again. Another post caught Vanessa's eye. From now on, it's the three of us, feeling so blessed. Attached was a picture of Cindy's pregnancy checkup results. Scott's comment? I've got you and the baby. Always. Love you, baby. Her stomach twisted so hard she thought she might throw up. But she didn't stop. Another comment caught her eye, one from Scott's inner circle. Congrats. Scott, you better throw us a party soon. Everyone had known. While she was stumbling around in the dark, thinking Scott was hers, all their friends had been in on the secret. Those same friends who used to tease her about how lucky she was, how Scott couldn't stop talking about her. Yeah. What a joke. Looking back now, it was so obvious. She'd been blind, stupidly blind. The two most recent posts on Cindy's profile were from that day. The first. Their flight tickets and a shot from the plane cabin. The second. A picture of two hands intertwined across a dinner table. Vanessa knew that hand. She'd held it more times than she could count. Cindy's profile was full of photos like that, smiling, glowing, thriving. All of it, courtesy of him. Vanessa's life? A cruel joke. She snapped into action. Screenshots. Every post, every comment Scott left. Printed. And packed into the gift box. The next day, Vanessa sold off all the jewelry, clothes, shoes, and handbags Scott had given her. Every dollar went to charities for women and kids in need. His dirty money wasn't going to stick to her. Over the next few days, Cindy's Bali pics kept popping up on social media. Sunsets, cocktails, poolside selfies, all with Scott's sickeningly sweet comments underneath. Vanessa printed each one and slid them into the growing pile. By day 7, Scott finally showed up. She was halfway through dinner when the front door opened, and there he was. Just seeing him made her stomach turn. He walked in with a shopping bag. Gifts? Seriously? He set it down on the table and leaned in for a kiss. Vanessa turned her head. Nope. Have you eaten? If not, sit down and eat first, she said, voice steady. No, I haven't. I came home specifically to eat with you. Vanessa looked up at him. You're so good to me. The words dripped with sarcasm. But Scott? Clueless. In his head, she was still that same sweet, docile Vanessa. Too bad for him, he didn't realize that even the nicest people will bite when pushed too far. Scott slid into the chair across from her, beaming. Of course I am. Who else would I be good to? I promise to take care of you for life. Our anniversary's coming up. Where do you want to go? We'll see. Depends on how busy the hospital is. Scott chuckled, his voice dripping with affection. I've told you 100 times, you don't need to work so hard. Quit already. I can take care of you. Yeah, right. Vanessa was glad she'd never fallen for that trap. If she'd given up her job for him, she wouldn't have the guts to walk out now. She tilted her head, playful but with an edge. What if I quit, and one day you cheat on me? What would I do then? Boom. Direct hit. Scott panicked, scrambling to reassure her. That won't happen, Vanessa. You have to believe me. It's only ever been you, I won't cheat. There won't be anyone else. Vanessa believed him, partly. Yeah, Scott loved her, in his own selfish way. But love hadn't stopped him from betraying her. And that was the hardest part to accept. If he hadn't been so good to her at first, maybe this wouldn't sting so much. And that's exactly why he couldn't know she was leaving. He wouldn't let her go. Before she could respond, a maid stepped into the dining room. Mr. Fable, Miss Son is here. Scott's jaw tightened. Not exactly thrilled. Vanessa? Totally unfazed. She casually told the maid to let Cindy in. Cindy strutted in, rocking a barely there slip dress. Her skin glowed. Mr. Fable, Ms. Yan, Cindy greeted, all fake politeness. Sorry to interrupt. I just need your signature on some office documents. And we should go over a few things. Vanessa smiled. Go ahead. Don't mind me. Cindy seethed with frustration. She'd walked in, ready to spark a catfight. Maybe push Vanessa into an ugly scene so Scott would have no choice but to cut ties with her. But instead, Vanessa sat there, completely unbothered. Calm. In control. Scott stood. Let's talk outside. I need to go over a few things with you. Sure. As Cindy swayed toward the door, she shot Vanessa a smug look. At the villa's entrance, Scott's frustration boiled over. What the hell are you doing here? Didn't I tell you not to show up around her? Cindy's eyes filled with tears. She cradled her belly, playing the part. I missed you. I don't want to be alone. You know I'm pregnant. Before Scott could say more, Cindy looped her arms around his neck and kissed him. At first, he stiffened, even tried to push her off. But Cindy grabbed his hand, sliding it under her dress. I'm wearing your favorite stockings. Stay with me tonight, okay? That was it. Scott's control snapped. He pinned her against a tree, claiming her with wild, desperate hunger. Hidden in the shadows, Vanessa stood perfectly still, watching. She wanted this moment burned into her mind. Only by searing the pain into her memory could she finally let him go for good. A few minutes later, Scott returned. Vanessa kept eating as if nothing had happened. I'm sorry, something came up at work. I gotta go, he said, stopping by the table. Okay. Flat. Detached. She glanced up, caught it. Flushed lips. Smudged guilt. That kiss burned in her mind like a bad memory on repeat. Must be a thrill, sneaking around while she sat right here. Scott was already halfway out the door when Vanessa calmly set down her fork. She reached for the necklace he'd given her. Straight to the trash. With just days left before her move to Italvia, Vanessa headed back to the hospital to wrap up work and kill time. That afternoon, she got assigned to cover at a different branch. As her shift wound down, she found herself blocked in by a group of angry, stick-wielding troublemakers. Shouts echoed through the lobby, the air thick with tension as they stormed in, yelling at the staff. Vanessa instinctively stepped in front of her younger colleague. A stick came down hard, smacking her head. Pain shot through her, and warm blood ran down her forehead, making the mob freeze in shock. Security and a few male doctors wasted no time, dragging the troublemakers out. Dr. Yan. Are you okay? You're bleeding. I'm fine, Vanessa said, brushing them off, though her head pounded, and the edges of her vision blurred. As a colleague guided her toward the treatment room, they rounded a corner, and ran straight into Scott and Cindy. The lobby seemed to fall silent as they locked eyes. Scott was holding Cindy's handbag, while Cindy, practically glued to his arm, beamed up at him. But the moment Scott saw the blood streaking Vanessa's face, his expression shifted. He dropped Cindy's bag and rushed over. Cindy stumbled, barely catching herself, and glared at Vanessa. Vanessa! What happened? Are you hurt? Scott's voice was full of panic. Exhausted and irritated, Vanessa shot him a cold glance. It's nothing. Don't concern yourself. Before he could push further, one of her colleagues jumped in, giving Scott a quick rundown of what had happened. Vanessa had no energy for this. She brushed past him, ready to leave, but Scott moved faster. He scooped her up and carried her to the treatment room without even sparing Cindy a glance. The doctor patched up Vanessa's wound quickly, but while she got her shot, Scott stayed glued to her side. Cindy hovered by the door, arms crossed, refusing to budge. The air was thick with tension. "You can go now." "I'm fine," Vanessa said. Scott shook his head. "You're hurt. How can I just leave?" Vanessa gave him a feint and tilted her head toward the door. "Don't keep her waiting too long. Standing there must be exhausting." Scott glanced over at Cindy, just as a doctor approached with a piece of paper. "Miss, here's your report. Make sure to come back for your next prenatal checkup on time," the doctor said. Cindy plastered on a fake, cheery smile, snatching the report. "Thank you. I won't miss it." Her voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. Scott's face drained of color as his eyes darted nervously toward Vanessa. "She broke up with her boyfriend and found out she's pregnant," he said quickly. "She wasn't feeling well, so as her boss, I brought her here. Don't misunderstand, Vanessa." Vanessa couldn't help it, she laughed. A dry, humorless chuckle. Cindy's face paled in response. "You're such a thoughtful boss. If I didn't know better, I'd think you were the father." Scott forced a shaky smile. "Don't joke like that. I'm only interested in being the father of our child." Cindy's expression twisted, her hand crumpling the report into a tight ball. Vanessa shot Cindy a mocking smile. In her head, Cindy was just another pretty girl who could probably do better if she put her energy into, actual work instead of drama. But hey, if you didn't respect yourself, who else would? Cindy caught the look and turned red with fury. Out of nowhere, she clutched her stomach and leaned against the doorframe, her voice all weak and shaky. "Scott, my stomach. It hurts." Scott turned at once, panic flashing across his face. Without hesitation, he jumped up and rushed straight to her, leaving Vanessa behind. Vanessa just sat there watching as Scott scooped Cindy up and bolted to find a doctor. Cindy, despite looking like she was about to pass out, somehow found the energy to smirk at Vanessa like she'd just won. Vanessa sighed, motioning for a nurse to come over and remove her for the rest of the meds. Yeah, not worth it. She wasn't sticking around for this circus. As she stepped out of the hospital, her phone buzzed. "Cindy, of course. Did you see that? Your boyfriend was freaking out over me. He's so scared for our baby. Face it, Vanessa, you're nothing to him." Attached was a picture of Scott, mid-freakout, grilling a doctor like the perfect concerned dad-to-be. Vanessa didn't bother replying. She slid her phone back into her bag and walked away, alone. Back home, Vanessa hadn't even settled in before Scott showed up, all frantic energy. "Why didn't you tell me you were coming home? Done with the fourth already? Are you still in pain?" His concern. Fake. It was disgusting. 7 years. What had she even gotten out of it? "I'm fine," she said. "Why would I need to let you know? You're so busy, always personally taking care of things at work. Gotta look out for your employees, right?" The sarcasm wasn't lost on him. Scott reached for her hand. "I was just worried, okay? She's pregnant and all alone. If something happened." "Totally." Vanessa nodded. "Pregnant and abandoned, that's rough. But I wonder, does the guy even know she's pregnant? Or was he just in it for the thrill? Men like that? They don't deserve to breathe. Karma's coming for them." Scott froze, his forced smile barely holding up. "Yeah. Let's not talk about her. I'm just glad you're okay. Don't go back to work for a few days. Our anniversary's coming up, how about we go out tomorrow? Spend some time together." Vanessa tilted her head, her voice honeyed with mock curiosity. "Aren't you worried about leaving her? You're really just letting her handle everything herself? She's got nothing to do with me. Why would I stick around her? You're my girlfriend, you're the one that matters." Vanessa almost laughed out loud. If only Cindy could hear him right now. The king of liars, putting on a show. That night, Scott actually stayed home, first time in forever. Vanessa didn't bother talking to him, using the classic not feeling great excuse to escape to bed early. But Scott. He wasn't done. Keeping his phone close like a lifeline, he slipped out of bed once he thought she was asleep. Vanessa got up quietly, padding to the door and listening through the crack. Be good, Scott murmured, his voice low and sweet. I'll make it up to you, okay? That ring from Laura's you've been eyeing? I'll grab it. Just rest, you've had a rough day. I'll send someone to bring those pastries from Bellamy's in the morning. Vanessa stifled a bitter laugh. 7 years. 7 wasted years on this man. What a joke. The next morning, Vanessa sat at the table, barely touching her breakfast. Scott noticed, his voice dripping with fake concern. Not your thing. Just say the word, and I'll have them make whatever you want. Vanessa looked up, locking eyes with him. I want those pastries from Bellamy's. Scott froze, his face doing that quick panic flash before he plastered on a strained smile. But you've never liked their stuff. Switching it up isn't a bad thing, Vanessa said, stirring her coffee. Keeps life interesting. Relationships too, spend too long together, and it's easy for things to feel stale. Scott reached across the table, gently taking her hand. His voice softened. Babe, are you feeling stressed? Or maybe someone's been saying things to you? His grip tightened, just a little. Look, other people's relationships might fall apart, but not us. What we have. It's different. We worked hard for this, and every day with you still feels fresh. Vanessa, don't overthink it. I'm not like those guys. I'm different. His earnest act didn't land, it just made the bitterness in Vanessa's heart grow sharper. She slipped her hand away and gave him a faint smile. Let's eat. Didn't you say we were going out today? Yeah, let's go. Vanessa and Scott spent the morning wandering a high-end mall, with Scott keeping close and Vanessa playing her part. When they passed Laura's, the iconic luxury jewelry store, she slowed down, eyeing the display. Let's check it out, she said casually. I heard they just dropped some new designs. Scott nodded quickly. Sure. Inside, Vanessa's gaze went straight to a diamond ring in the center of the case. It had to be the one Cindy wanted. Scott slid an arm around her waist, leaning in. See anything you like? Without hesitation, Vanessa pointed at the ring. I want that one. For a split second, Scott froze. Then he smoothed it over with a too casual laugh. I don't think that's really your style. How about this necklace instead? I don't want the necklace. I want the ring. Vanessa's tone was firm. She was deliberately pushing, just to see how far he'd go. Scott's face twitched. He struggled to keep his composure. He'd promised Cindy that ring less than 24 hours ago. What's wrong? Vanessa asked, teasing. Don't want to buy it for me? Scott forced a laugh. Of course not. If I'm not buying it for you, who else would it be for? He waved at the sales associate to take the ring out, but then, as if struck by a sudden thought, turned to Vanessa. Babe, I'm feeling kind of thirsty. Could you grab me a drink? Sure. Vanessa knew exactly what he was trying to do, but she played along. When she returned with a juice, Scott greeted her with a look that screamed guilty. Sorry, babe. The sales associate accidentally dropped the ring, and it broke. How about we pick something else? Vanessa's grip on the cup tightened until her knuckles went white, but her face stayed calm. She smiled faintly. No problem. It's fine. In the end, she picked a necklace instead. By the time they got home, she used the first excuse she could think of about being tired and went straight inside. Scott didn't even stick around, leaving almost immediately. Not long after, her phone buzzed. A message from Cindy. Attached, a photo of her wearing the diamond ring. Vanessa, this ring is mine. He lied to you just to keep me happy. You're pathetic. Another message popped up seconds later. Oh, and I heard he got you a necklace. That ugly thing? Yeah, I rejected it. Even a dog wouldn't wear it. Vanessa's hand clenched around the phone as she stared at the messages. Her reply was cool, sharp. Trying to prove your importance through me? Cute, but it won't work. If you really want to win, get Scott to leave me and marry you. What's wrong? He won't. Looks like you're the pathetic one. The reply came fast. You shameless woman. What are you even smug about? He will leave you. I'm carrying his child. Do you really think you stand a chance? Vanessa could almost feel Cindy's rage bleeding through the screen. It only made her smirk. Tossing her phone onto the couch, she headed to the study. The anniversary gift she was putting together for Scott kept growing, a box packed tight with screenshots. On the morning of their 8th anniversary, Scott had planned a romantic day on a cruise, down to every last detail. When Vanessa woke up, he leaned in and kissed her forehead softly. Happy anniversary, babe. The bed was scattered with rose petals, and pastel-colored balloons floated around the room. Vanessa sat up, her face calm as Scott smiled at her, full of tenderness. Let's get ready for the cruise. You're going to love it. There's a fireworks show tonight, and I'll even catch some fresh fish for you. You always love it when I cook what I catch, right? She didn't respond. Tonight, she'd be boarding a plane, leaving him, their life, and their lives behind for good. After this, they'd have nothing tying them together. Just as they stepped out of the villa, Scott's phone buzzed. Vanessa watched as he glanced at the screen, his Adam's apple shifting, an unmistakable sign of suppressed desire. He shoved the phone back into his pocket, guilt flickering across his face. Something urgent came up at the office. I need to handle it. Could you go to the cruise without me? I'll catch up as soon as I can. Vanessa's voice was soft, her face unreadable. Okay. Relieved, Scott grinned. Good girl. I won't be long. She nodded, even as a strange heaviness settled in her heart. This was likely the last time they'd ever see each other. As Scott hurried toward his car, Vanessa called out, her voice quiet. Scott. He stopped, turning back with a puzzled look. What is it? Nothing. Goodbye. She had planned to give him a proper farewell. But, like always, something came up and ruined it. Her last word to him was goodbye. Scott hesitated. He sensed something off in her tone, but after a moment, he slid into the sleek black Maybach and drove off. Vanessa stood there, watching the car disappear down the road. Lowering her eyes, she whispered, Scott. This is the last time you'll see me. From now on, take care of yourself. With that, she turned around and walked back inside the villa. Locking herself in the study, Vanessa settled at the desk. Right on cue, her phone buzzed again. It was Cindy. Happy 8th anniversary. Surprised? Your boyfriend spent this special day in my bed. Vanessa, what do you even have to fight me with? Vanessa stared at the screen and smirked. She typed a quick reply. Since you love trash so much, I'll let you have him. Enjoy treating garbage like treasure. With that, she snapped a screenshot and blocked Cindy. The screenshot joined the stack of evidence already packed into the box sitting on the desk, a perfectly curated farewell gift for Scott. With only hours left in this house, Vanessa decided to visit the hospital to say goodbye to a few close colleagues. Before leaving, she called for a housemaid. I've left a gift for Scott in the study. Make sure he gets it. Then, with no glance back, she walked out of the villa that had been her home for 5 years. Standing at the doorway, she paused, taking one last look at the place that held so many memories. She could still picture the day Scott first brought her here, back when it was just an empty shell. They'd laughed, dreaming about their future, and cried in each other's arms, overwhelmed by the joy of finally having a home to call their own. All those bittersweet moments, those highs and lows, they lived in these walls, known only to Vanessa. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward. Without looking back, she walked away. That afternoon, Vanessa met with her colleagues. They laughed, swapped stories, and wished her the best for the road ahead. Throughout it all, Scott never called. He was probably still in Cindy's bed. On the way to the airport, Vanessa pulled her SIM card from her phone without a second thought and flicked it out the car window. For 8 years, she'd been the one holding that relationship together. Now, she was the one letting it go. At the same time, Scott was spiraling into panic. Vanessa's phone was off. Every call went straight to voicemail. He tried again and again, growing more frustrated by the second. Desperate, he called the cruise organizer, only to be told Vanessa hadn't shown up at all. Vanessa hadn't gone to the cruise? That didn't add up. He told her to wait for him there. Was she mad at him? Or was it something else? Unease churned in his heart as he kept dialing her number, instructing his driver to head straight home. When Scott rushed into the house, Vanessa was gone. The maid informed him that Vanessa had left around noon and told them to pass on a message. There was an anniversary gift waiting for him in the study. Scott hurried to the second-floor study, his eyes immediately landing on a neatly wrapped gift box sitting on the desk. Relief washed over him, and he exhaled, even cracking a small smile. So, Vanessa had been planning a surprise all along. He approached the box slowly, curiosity sparking in his heart. What had she prepared for their anniversary? Without a second thought, he untied the ribbon and